Hello again, grade 7s. In today's lesson, we are going to wrap up the unit of study on circles by looking at how to solve some word problems. No need to state the learning outcomes because they're simply going to be to use the formulas for circumference and area, albeit we're going to have to be a bit more clever in deciding which equation we need to use based on the scenario. So let's jump right into an example. So what I have is a circular mirror, and the circular mirror has dimensions as shown below. So the important thing to recognize immediately on this picture is it's showing me the dimension that goes from the middle of the circle to the outside. That is the radius. What this mirror is made up of is a bunch of glass in the middle, and around the outside you have some trim. And what it wants me to do is it wants me to do some calculations for a cost to the nearest hundredth of a dollar. The nearest hundredth of a dollar would be the nearest cent. So A says, if the trim for this mirror is $5 per mirror, calculate the total cost to place trim around the mirror. Well, before we do anything dealing with cost, we first need to figure out what does the trim actually represent. So the trim of the mirror would go around the outer perimeter. What's the physical quantity that goes around the outer perimeter? That's a circumference. So what we need to do is we need to do a circumference calculation. Okay, so let's calculate the circumference of the mirror, which is going to represent the trim. Now we need to decide which equation to use. We have two equations for circumference. We have pi times d, and we have 2 times pi times r. However, the question shows me the radius, therefore I'm going to use the equation that has radius in it, which is 2 times pi times r. Let's plug the numbers in. So this would be equal to 2 multiplied by 3.14 multiplied by r, which is 0.158 meters. And then my circumference would be equal to, we can just quickly go ahead and calculate it. So we've got 2 times 3.14 times 0.158, and then we should get a number that is 0.992224 meters. Now that's just the circumference. That doesn't tell me how much the cost of the trim is. So what I want to do is to calculate the total cost. My total cost would be equal to the circumference multiplied by the cost per meter of the trim. And it tells me the cost per meter of the trim is $5. Okay, so my total cost would then be equal to the circumference, which is 0.99224 meters, multiplied by the cost per meters is $5. Multiply those two together, and it's going to tell me what the total cost is. I'm going to expect it to be a little bit underneath $5 because I don't quite have a meter of trim. I have about a 0.99224 meters. It should be a little bit less than that. Okay, when we calculate this, just multiply by 5, I get a number. This is going to be in dollars. That would be $4 and then 9612. However, this time around, we got to round to the nearest hundredth because the nearest hundredth of a dollar represents the nearest cent. So to round to the nearest hundredth, which is the second decimal place, I need to look at what's happening in the thousandths position. So the thousandths position has a 1, which means I'm not going to round that number up. Therefore, your total cost would just be equal to $4.96. Let's go to part B now. Part B says, if glass costs $25 per square meter, determine the total cost for the glass in the mirror. Okay, the glass fills in this region, this entire region within the actual circle. So the first thing we need to do again is we need to identify like what are we actually calculating? What does the glass represent? Well, if the glass represents the region within the circle, that is the area of the circle. So what we're going to do is we need to do a calculation for area first. Okay, so we have area would be equal to, and we have two equations to calculate area. We have pi times r squared, and we have pi times d squared over 4. Once again, we're given the radius, so we want to use the equation that has pi times r squared, the equation that has r. Pi r squared would expand to pi times r times r. Just plug my numbers in. Pi is 3.14. Multiplied by r, which is 0.158 meters. Multiplied by another 0.158 meters. And then my area would be equal to, so 3.14 times 0.158 times 0.158 would be, it's a pretty ugly number. I'll just write it down completely, 0.0783, and then we have 8696. And meters times meters gives me square meters. To calculate the total cost of the mirror, what I want to do is I want to take the area and I want to multiply by the cost per square meter. Okay, so let's plug the numbers in, do the substitution now to calculate it. So again, you can see how I'm continuously using my three-step procedure where I write down the equation, plug the numbers in, and they get the answer of the correct units. So my area is 0.07838696 meters squared, multiply by the cost per square meter, which is $25. And then I'm going to get the total cost. I'll write down the unrounded answer first, and then we'll worry about rounding it. So we're going to get a pretty ugly number again. So we got 1.959674. And again, I want to round to the nearest hundreds. That's a second decimal place. To do that, I need to look at what's happening in the thousands position. So the thousands position has the digit 9, which means I'm going to round that 5 up. So your total cost would then be equal to $1.96. This time around, no questions from the MathLink 7 textbook. I have an assignment that I've created that serves both as reinforcement of the material today, doing some cost calculations, and also has some problems that are going to help you to review for the unit exam because we are now at the end of the unit. And I will talk to you in the next unit of study.